Hi and welcome to this episode of Game Creation. So on Monday and Tuesday we've been talking about responsiveness options. For all this week we're looking at responsiveness. Now if you don't know, responsiveness is that your game or application will run on any device, any size, from a 4K monitor down to a little mobile phone, right? On Monday we just left it as the default. We changed the background from white to black so it was a bit better. But that basically made it really easy for us to program because the user will see exactly the same screen as that we create. The problem is on a 4K monitor it will be a tiny little window, and on a mobile phone it probably won't fit on the display, right? So that's not ideal. On Tuesday, we butchered it. We butchered our Gamer app by stretching it out and making it nice and big, or stretching it really small, whatever, right? It's horrible. But for like certain emulation and stuff like that, it's the only option you've got, right? Because you're not going to go through and redo all the graphics, right? Today, we are doing the thing that 99% of games and applications do, right? It is not about stretching or keeping the same. It is about, from the start of your game or app, knowing you're going to do today's process, right? You should be viewing the viewport, the thing, the device that the user's using, as a window into your game or application, but not the game or application itself. It's just the window that the user's looking through. Your game or application should be much, much bigger than the window they're using. If that's the case, if your game or application is 16K wide, like if it's a massive world, right, then every monitor will be able to have a look inside that game or application, right? So that's the way of viewing it, and you've got to make these decisions at the start, because going back and trying to jerry-rig this into a game or application later on is quite difficult. Why? Because someone's going to have a 4K or even 8K monitor, and they need to have as good an experience as someone who's got a tiny little mobile phone, right? And so a tiny little mobile phone means that the user will need to be able to do everything that the 8K user can, right? And the 8K user might have a bit of an issue with a tiny little character and can see the entire world, right? So there's a bit of a balancing act. There is a point at which you might want to have different sized assets and have like a 1 times, 2 times, and maybe a 4 times and 8 times as well, right? So you've got a few variants so that when you are going to an 8K monitor that you have bigger assets, you might make that decision. But for the games we're doing, we're roughly doing. I think a lot of users export to Steam, right? Most people on Steam, no one on Steam will have a mobile phone. The smallest display probably is going to be the Steam Deck, and the biggest display is probably going to be, I don't know, what is it, 1.5K, right? Whatever that is, 16, whatever the resolution is. You're not going to get many 4K. You might get a few, so you might want to just cater to them a little bit, right? Anyway, enough waffling. Let's get straight into it. So I'm using the JRPG project, and I've been using it this week. Just make sure if you're following along that you've switched off the garbage yesterday, the resize display. If you haven't got this project, it's dead easy. Just to start a new one, right? And you can have like a little square. If you double click, just make an active, right? And you can have a square jumping around, right? And the most important thing that you have is you can see that the resolution 640 by 480. That's just the default. But on the frame that you're using, frame 1, the virtual width and virtual height need to be bigger, right? That's your game world, okay? And that has to be bigger than the window that the user's using. Otherwise, we won't be able to do what we're doing today. I've included a window object, but I'm going to do it again because I had to just check that I knew how to do this. Check that the process that I was going to do will work with this, and it does, so that's good. And I kind of did. I did a video earlier, and I had to redo it because I forgot to uncheck this part here. Oh, the bit we did yesterday, and so I got really confused why it wasn't working. Right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start a new group, right? And a group is just a place to put your code, and we're going to call it responsiveness. Probably spelled wrong, but I don't care. Okay. What I want to do though is I want this process to happen all the time, because it's going to constantly need to do this. Now, we've got to be really careful using the always event. Always event is something that you really, really should avoid. You might be thinking, what? Why? Like it does what it does. Like it's always going to do it. The always event happens pretty much. I think it's like every tick of the clock, right, on your clock speed on your computer, if not like less often, but very frequently. And so if you've got an always event, it's always going to happen, right? And it's going to slow down your game application. So we might want to change that later, but we'll do it always for now, just while we're testing it. And what I want to do is when I stretch open the frame, I want to see more of the game world, right? I don't want to see these black bars. I want to see the game world. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the window object, which I introduced last week. Okay, I said it's the most important modern object we've got, and I'm not kidding when I say that, right? So what we want to do is set the width of the frame window, and this condition is really, really useful because it helps us set the frame width as well. Now what we want to do is we want to set that to the application window width, right? Horizontal size of the application window. And we want to say, yes, I want to adjust the frame size as well. And with that one line, hopefully, if I stretch out, you might think, oh, hang on, it's not doing anything. Well, it is, because if I let go, pop, we're now expanded the world. Now, something that concerns me straight away, and I probably know why, is if you look, the guy is a little bit off the screen, but I think he's always off the screen. Let's have a look. Is he always off the screen? Yeah, he is always off the screen. I don't know why he's always off the screen. Okay, so if I go full screen, you can see that actually this monitor's 1920, right? So it's not going to go all the way, and you've got this horrible white thing. There we are, went into a battle, and that's it. How easy is that? Right, so we're going to set the frame height since we're on a roll, and we're going to do it the same. So where are we? We're going to do it frame application window, vertical size of the application window, and yes, I want to do the frame size, and voila. How cool is that? Now you might notice that this is more, this is better because you can see it. He's off screen, okay, and the reason is probably that I want the frame width to not be the window size, and we talked about this yesterday, as last week I think it was, that actually we wanted to be the client area size. I was hoping this would happen. I was getting worried that it didn't happen, but it did. I just wasn't paying attention, right? And so I want this to be the client area size. Remember, the client area is the bit we want. This includes, like the horizontal size and vertical size includes all the gubbins, right? The borders, the menu bar and all that stuff. This doesn't, okay? This is just the client area, which is the bit we want. Open it again, and you can see he's perfectly in shot now, which he wasn't before. I'm glad that happens. We're going to do one more thing today, okay? And I can't really remember how to do this, but I'm praying that that my memories will come back to me. I don't like this, right? This is horrible, okay? Like you don't want to be dragging it, and it's like, ugh, it's black bars. That's what we want to avoid, right? So what you can do, hopefully, if I can find it, I might need to pause it whilst I try and search the menus, but you can get your application to run whilst it's being expanded, right? And it is in one of these options, and it's probably staring at me straight in the face. But it says like keep the thing running whilst run when minimized, run whilst recycle. Oh, how cool is that? That's so cool, isn't it? So it's in the runtime options. Make sure you click on the project, not the frame, right? Go to runtime options, and you can say, well, whilst resizing, run. One click of the button, and hopefully, I've bigged this up now. How cool is that? So you can see it whilst it's resizing. Now, I said that we shouldn't use an always event, and we shouldn't. It's constantly doing, like, I think there are some optimizations in Clickteam that stops it from doing always events always, but we should really have it once at the start. So we're going to replace that with at the start of the frame, and you can see that when you start it, but it won't do it whilst resizing. So we need like a resizing thing. I think we need the filtered one. I never remember the difference. A long time watchers will know I'd have no idea what the difference is. I think there's one. Is it being resized? Windows maximize. Windows has focus. Hang on, let me pause it just in case. Actually, I think I might have to do that at a later point because I don't think there's an easy way of doing it, which is kind of stupid. There really should be. Maybe I'll leave that in the comments. I know that what I could do is, so there are some options, right? I could make it maximized at startup, like most games, right? So if you run a game in Steam, you're not going to have it in a window, right? It will just maximize at start, check the resolution once, and then that's it. It will just sit at that resolution. You could keep polling so you could at the start of frame store the height and width of the frame, and then just keep checking to see if it's changed. That would be a good way of doing it. Or you could just leave it as an always event. But this is like, it already looks amazing that you can just, oh, look at that. And you can have a little mobile phone, right? So for a little mobile phone here, and look, it works straight away. The scrolling all sorts itself out because of the coding we did, right? Because we didn't say anything in the code that wouldn't work. One issue though with this, and we're not going to see it for ages, is this bit here is not working, right? This bit here isn't ready for being responsive, and this is what I said at the start, is you make sure that your app is designed at the start with responsiveness in mind. Now, as a lot of you probably know by now, I do loads of websites, right? My bread and butter is websites. In fact, that's not actually what I'm trained in, but anyway, but that's my focus, right? And with websites, you can't make a website these days without making it responsive, right? Because like no one would visit your website. And the way you do it on websites is we have something called mobile first, right? So you focus on the mobile first, make your app or website perfect for mobile, and then expand outwards. If you're targeting Steam, as I said, there's no point in focusing on mobile because your game isn't going to go to mobile with Steam. But the Steam Deck would be a really, really good place to start. Was it 720p? I think it is. That's a really good place to make sure that your app works really well. Because when you've got more space, generally you've got more options. Anyway, my voice is probably, I don't know why, my voice is dying. I've done no talking much yesterday, but anyway. So I'm going to stop right there. We're going to try and improve this. Maybe we'll work on Slim Slime. Maybe we'll work on Slim Slime, this guy here, right? And make that bit responsive, like, and focus on how we can make that responsive. But it's all about virtual width and virtual height and making decisions. And as I say, in websites, you have something called breakpoints, and you say, well, hang on, if you get too thin, then we need to change the way we approach this game, right? So this UI element's not going to work anymore. So get rid of it, change it. You know the little hamburger menus, right, that you get? And they're probably quite annoying, right? They're designed because you can't fit a full menu on a mobile phone. So we go, well, hang on, if you get to a device that's too small, no, get rid of the menu. We're going to have that hamburger menu, which is the 3 lines, right? They look like that, okay? And that's our way around it because there's not enough real estate for all these menu items, right? Or we have scrolling menus or whatever, right? Anyway, enough waffling. Let's just stop there. We're going to focus on making sure responsiveness is perfect for our application because I want this to be a game that we focus on now, and everything that we cover we can use to improve this game perhaps. but I'm not 100% sure. I might just completely change my mind. It would be really cool. Something I haven't done is like a Zelda type game where you fight in the overworld. And there was a suggestion, I think, last week of someone who wanted to cover that. So that might be quite cool. So this week, responsiveness. Maybe next week we look at a different related element, maybe some UI items or something like that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Keep your suggestions, comments, all that stuff coming in. They're just great to read. This channel's not going to be a money spin or anything. I knew that from the start. And it's just a place to have fun, talk, meet people, build a community. The people on this channel are amazing. I said that 2 weeks ago. There's some really, really great people out there. The whole Clickteam community is amazing, including the developers. If you use the forums, the Clickteam forums, you can't get nicer people. And this comes from an Englishman talking about a Frenchman, so you know that's definitely heartfelt. But I say that I go to France all the time. I love France. I'm a Francophile. Is that someone who likes France? I don't know. But anyway, I'm waffling. Why am I waffling? I'll stop there. But like the video if you like it. If you want to see more from us, click subscribe. Thank you very much.